And I know one of your books is Ecstasy is New Frequency. Can you describe what is ecstasy for you?
Absolutely I can. Ecstasy, rapture, and bliss. Ecstasy is a state of consciousness when we suddenly forget about survival and we suddenly become part of something larger. Our bodies are electric. They are electromagnetic energies. So when we become ecstatic, that electricity blasts through us. Most people never experience ecstasy except perhaps, if you'll forgive me, the moment of sexual orgasm, or the moment of death, something that shoves us out of our third-dimensional self into this blissful, a deep meditation. I've experienced something that's called samadhi, where there's just this oneness of the cosmos, and that's ecstasy. So ecstasy for you and me is when we suddenly, for a flash, for a moment, the self is forgotten, and yet the true self is merged with something bigger. And we feel that energy. We can't define it in mental images because it's too slow. It is an electrical current. It's a cosmic energy. And it's something that very few people experience, unfortunately. But it's something that's very important.
Is it same as cosmic orgasm?
Yes, it is. And that's definitely how I first experienced it, which is, I'll tell the story. It was a time when I was sleeping in the desert with my children, and I was not partnered at the time, and I thought, well, that part of my life is done. I will never experience that human part again. And suddenly, I had an experience of cosmic orgasm, which is something that occurs throughout the whole, not only the nervous system in the body, but the acupuncture meridians in the body, the 72,000 nadis that are in the body and around the body. All of them went into this cosmic high frequency, electric frequency. And I actually, this is true, I actually levitated up. And I was having this tremendous experience. I'm blowing out your camera. So there we were with my children, 5 of my children. I was actually pregnant at the time, but I didn't know it. So that being has experienced a lot of very wonderful things while in the womb. But so I was feeling that, I would never connect with someone again, and I was kind of reviewing my life. And suddenly I had an experience of cosmic orgasm. And it was so powerful that it levitated my whole body. And I was in a purple sleeping bag, and I was having this waves upon waves of cosmic energy blasting through. I completely lost the sense of an individuated body, or parts of a body, because it was monumental. And then all of a sudden, when my body had reached the limit of what it could stand without falling apart, I realized that I was levitated like a board, and that my sleeping bag was falling on the sides like this, over the sides of my body. And once I realized that it was doing that, then I realized I was levitating, and I floated back down. But not many, but other people have experienced that as well. And again, it's just another opportunity to recognize that we're so much more than we think we are, and that this human vehicle can do things and know things that we never realized were possible. So when we begin to get into our body, but get into our body in a way that connects to our light body, it changes our experience, our incarnation of the soul.
Would you say that is same as awakening, or awakening is different from...
Oh, that's a kind of awakening. We can use the word awakening on many, many levels. I think typically when someone says awakening is like enlightenment at some level. Maybe not as far along the path as enlightenment, which people tend to think is an end point. It's a beginning point. There are no enlightened beings, not even the great cosmic beings who are still hanging around our earth. Evolution never ends. It never ends. And so enlightenment is just taking yourself onto a new stage of possibility. You're a beginner. So awakening is really awakening to those possibilities. And when we begin to awaken, the crucial point of awakening is that it changes our sense of self. We begin to realize that we do belong to something more. So a lot of our fears about being human, or how will I survive, or how will I make money, or all of the daily things, are influenced by a bigger arena. And so this awakening begins to pull us into new arenas, into new levels of questioning, of experiencing, of opening up. And so I think that the humans on the planet at this time are going through that kind of awakening. Everyone is. You know, in India they have a word Mahatma, which means great soul. And I always say, we are all great souls. We are all great souls. We are just playing a part here. And we play that part not only for our own personal evolution, but also for the evolution of humanity and for our planet. Whether you're a starving person in Africa or a drug person face down in the street, you're still a great being. You are still a divine being. You are just giving yourself that experience for some purpose. Once we get that point, then awakening becomes something that happens very quickly for everyone.
And how can we stay in that state of mind of, I know awakening is just one experience, but how can we stay in a state of mind of ecstasy?
Well, we could not possibly stay in the mind of ecstasy because it would blow out our human circuits. It's too strong. But we can. That's why my higher self always says ecstasy, rapture, bliss. We can come into a place of bliss and rapture, but it is swinging up and swinging down. And the crucial point of those kinds of experiences that everyone can have is to bring with you, if you have a moment of illumination or a moment of connecting or feeling the divine by looking in a lake or a mountain or being in nature, is to pull that energetically into your daily life. My higher self always talks about it in terms of anchoring the sky. My great-grandfather lived with us when he was 92, and he kept saying it over and over and over again, anchor the sky, anchor the sky. Now I know what he meant. I didn't know for a long period of time what he meant. But he meant that the cosmic energies, if you anchor them in, whether in a galactic format or in a nature format, whatever format, it will expand your potential. And that's the purpose of it. It's not to feel like you have a daily life and then a spiritual life, but to put them together. And to put them together in the human form. You know, so that whether we're making love or we're making money or whatever we're doing, that higher consciousness is always available to us. So it's just a matter of where you place your focus. You know, if you find yourself scrappling, and that's why people talk about meditation so much. My higher self says, life is meditation, and meditation is life. It's just a matter of where you focus your consciousness.
It's to energetically remember that experience you had while with awakening, and
you use that instead of going back to that experience, because you can't really go back to it in content. You can go back to it in energy. So you carry the energy with you, and that energy begins to radiate out from you, and it creates a whole new world of contacts, of experiences, so that we build on every experience that we have, even the ones that we think are negative. You know, they have a purpose in terms of our evolution. So we use life. I personally have had 6 near-death experiences. 6. You might say I'm a slow learner, where they've said, she's dead, and then I've come back. And the thing that has come back with me is use life. Use every experience. Never wait for tomorrow, for the future, but always be here, and whatever is going on now, use that and contribute to it. And that brings us a sense of peace and balance and safety.